Let's get spooky. All right, well, here we are. So thank you for everybody coming out. My name is Jazz. I'm with Giving Up the Ghost podcast, and my co-host is...
Hi everybody, I'm Ashley from Winnipeg Paranormal Group. Thank you all so much for coming out tonight.
So, and thank you to the King's Head Pub, because they've had us out since May last year, I think. Was it May? June? Something like that?
Yeah, May or June, somewhere in there.
So this is what we call Spirits with Spirits, and basically it's a night, one night a month, where we invite people to come out. We usually have like a guest speaker, a certain topic, usually like a local haunted location. We talk about that for an hour, and then the second half would be our open mic night, where you get to come up and share your story in a safe, non-judgmental environment with like-minded people, and that's what we're here for. So tonight we thought we'd go a little edgy, and we would do Ouija boards. Give me a ooh. And on that note, who came out for the Ouija board part? Hands up. Okay. 50. Well, thank you. That's awesome. Again, my name is Jazz. I'm with Giving Up the Ghost podcast. This month is our 7th year anniversary. So we're Winnipeg's first and only paranormal podcast. Thank you. With my partner Cher, who just does not like these kind of things whatsoever. So you'll never see her out. But a lot of times we work with the Winnipeg Paranormal Group. We'll go out on their public investigations that Ashley will give you more details on. And basically we record their epic journeys and just the stories they collect. And it's been an amazing ride. So I'll push it over to Ash to explain a little more about their part of the biz.
So Winnipeg Paranormal Group, we are a local group, and we do a bunch of different things for people. So the first and primary thing that we do is we will go into people's homes if they're having paranormal experiences, and we'll try and help them. So we do paranormal investigations, kind of like what you see on TV. We do those free of charge.
Except they're more humble about it.
We just want to be there to make sure that we can help people feel comfortable in their own homes. So that is our primary goal. To help us do that, we do events like this. Spirits with Spirits, where we get you guys out here, we let you know what we do, we try and introduce ourselves to you so that you're a little bit more comfortable reaching out if you need. And then we also do fundraisers for local locations in and around Winnipeg and local areas. We've been out to Brandon, Kenora, we've been invited out to Verdon and Minnedosa this year, and we do public investigations. So what we do with those is we sell tickets, we bring you out to the haunted location, we invite you to learn all you can about the equipment that we have, we teach you how to use it, some experiments that you can try with it, and then we let you investigate the area. So it's a lot of fun.
They have the coolest toys, really expensive toys, by the way, but
and it's
cool.
Very hands-on, which we think is very different and unique from a lot of different investigations that people have put on. So if you're ever interested in that, follow us on 3 Common, Facebook, Instagram. We've got it all, and we'll be hoping to see some of you guys out at our other events this year.
Excellent. So start off the night, Ouija boards, right? You all know about them. You've all heard about them. Who here, put your hand up if you've actually used a Ouija board. Ah, awesome. And overall, good experience, bad experience, no experience? Well, it's probably not that bad if you're here, or else you'd be, shit your pants, you won't come and do it again. You know what I'm saying? Not that we're going to necessarily try one. We'll see how it goes, what the flow is. Basically, we just want to, talk a little bit about like the origins of a Ouija board, which is essentially just another tool for divination with contact with the other side. But with that, there is a caveat.
What's the caveat? You can't throw me under the bus like that.
Well, I mean, it's all good and nice when you want to talk to Auntie Joan to find out where the gold's hidden. However, sometimes you can open a door. You're not necessarily going to get the person that you want to speak with. Yes. That's the caveat, right? We have some stories we want to share, Ashley probably has some pretty good stories herself.
Got a few, yeah.
Yeah, so, we'll talk about that, and then we'll have you up, and you talk about ghost stories or Ouija board stories while we're on that topic. But basically, those in tune with the occult, likely think it's strange to find such a tool as the Ouija board shelved among sets of board games at the local toy store, even though it's come to be regarded as like a parlor game, right? So thousands have reported eerie communications with the world beyond the veil of the physical plane, while some call the Ouija board game just a game, and others swear it's nothing more. And then others also say you don't mess with it, right?
Sorry.
Oh, go for it.
Who here feels negative about Ouija boards, that they're...
Oh, that was fast. Holy shit.
That was very fast. Hand up.
I don't blame you.
So hopefully we can maybe change your mind a little bit tonight. We'll see.
Yeah. Like, I have to say, you know, because I've been on quite a few investigations with them, with the Winnipeg Paranormal Group, and they do use Ouija boards as a tool of divination. I myself had a very couple bad experiences, really bad, and I swear that I would never touch or go near one. Now, I have not touched one, but I'll watch them do it. And I think the difference is when you're 12 years old and you save up your allowance to go down to the toy store and pick up like the board game and you're messing around with it, you don't know the proper ways to use it or close it off. And I mean, yeah, I think things can happen, right?
Yeah, there's so many of our clients that we meet for investigations, and when we start asking questions, you know, how long has this been going on? Have you dealt with paranormal before? Right away, you know, I'd probably say more than 50% are like, oh yeah, I played with the Ouija board when I was little. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's start there.
Yeah. So again, people usually break it out for Halloween parties, right? But really the Ouija board, it predates a lot of our fascination with, you know, horror films and all that. It was actually born in the era, like the board that we're actually using, like we have, is modeled after boards that were developed as a result of spiritualism.
Yeah. Yeah, they have been around for hundreds of years. Used different names. There's been witch board, talking board, spirit board, and they actually have not had the negative connotation that they do today until Hollywood started using them in their movies.
Yeah, The Exorcist. But like, you know, with spiritualism, the different kind of boards that they have, you know, if you've, there's actually, I've been to the website, there's actually, I think it's called Talking Board Society, and they show all the different, like, they're really cool. Like, they're more, to me, like an art form almost, and some of them are even on table legs. Like, they're not just the flat board. They come in, some of them around, you know, any type of shape, anything you can imagine. They're really nice to look at. I guess with respects to, I like the story that Ashley shares the story really well. Why did they use them back in like the 1920s?
Oh, so
Bound chicka wah wah.
back in the 1920s, early 1900s, spiritualism was alive and well, and that was a big pull for the Ouija board. But back then, you could not touch the person you were dating, right? If you were courting somebody, it was very proper, right? You couldn't hold hands or anything like that. So the Ouija board was actually brought into parlors as a dating game. You could put your hands on the planchette and be almost touching, and it was still acceptable. So that is your history of the Ouija board. It was not brought in as this, you know, demon summoning board or anything like that Hollywood has brought in. It was a dating game.
And again, it's just another type of divination. You've got your pendulums. You've got I've got our, we call it the magnetic spear of fortune on the table. Yes, no, maybe, ask a friend. So, I mean, there's many different ways. And I think maybe the Ouija board, if you're willing to wait it out, because it's a little, like, what was there, 26 letters in the alphabet, like, to spell out, what street do I live on? Abanoji Mika, you know what I mean? So, I mean, if you're really connecting with something or somebody from the other side and you get a message out of it, like, that's cool, that's great, because that doesn't always happen. So,
Or Chaz said earlier, the Ouija board for us in the paranormal world is just another tool. So there's really no difference between using a Ouija board versus using a ghost box. It's just a different form of communication. You need to make sure that you are starting your communication with intent, purpose, love, and light, and closing it off. You need to make sure that you're ending that conversation and you're closing that door. So there's no difference between using a Ouija board versus any of our other tools that we use to communicate.
And when you're saying ending off your session with Ouija board, I almost equal it to like when you're going on a public investigation. You arrive, you make yourself known, you make your intentions set that there's no ill will, you're there just there as an observer, you thank the spirits for having you there, and you do the same when you leave. So then that way they know they're staying there and you're going home. So I mean, it's kind of like the same, it's like a finality, right? Like you want to make sure that everybody's all on the same ground, including the spirits. Yeah, so basically everything with the Ouija board really got the main kickoff with spiritualism. Spiritualists believed and taught that the departed world became wiser and continue to mature in the spirit realm, and that some of them would go on to become guides and teachers for those who learn to communicate with them. So mediums were called in to lead seances. People began using automatic writing to commune with the dead. Does anybody know the history of the Hamilton House here in Winnipeg? The Hamilton House, familiar?
Has anybody not heard of the Hamilton House? And so we've got a couple people. That's fair.
That's good. No, that's fair. Very fair.
So the Hamilton House, for those of you who don't know, is owned by Dr. Hamilton. Also, the school in East St. Paul is named after him. He was a medical doctor, well respected, and when his son died, it was his son, right?
It was. He had 4 children, his youngest twins. Unfortunately, the family had contracted Spanish flu, which was like COVID. Unfortunately, one did not survive. And with him being a medical professional at that time, as far as what they had for medical devices and medicine and everything, and him himself being a doctor, he could not save his own son, so he was devastated.
So he took to spiritualism. He started holding seances and Ouija board sessions and had mediums come out to his house. And it wasn't just for him. He invited really predominant names from Canada's history. He had a prime minister in his house doing these sessions.
Yeah.
So, the house is over on Henderson. It's a very old house, but it's still standing.
Unfortunately, it doesn't have heritage status, so I don't know what's going to be coming of it because it was sold recently.
But there is, ghost stories surrounding that there are still, something is still sitting in the house and hanging out.
And I mean, if you think about it, right, what's kitty corner from that place is the Elmwood Cemetery, the second oldest cemetery in Winnipeg. So you're just asking for it at that point. Like, I mean, you're doing seances, you're opening a door. I don't know, I'm just kidding.
Well, Elmwood Cemetery is really, really haunted.
Very haunted, yes. Yeah. So they're dying to get in there. That's why there's a fence around it. You can laugh, it's okay. If I'm funny, anyway. Thank you. So yeah, with respects to spiritualism, we have some guiding tips as far as safety tips. And then let's just see here. What else can we tell you? One interesting thing about the name. So there is 2 conflicting stories of how the Ouija board got its name. So the first says that the board named itself. Can you imagine that? You're playing the board. Who are you? What is this? What do you call yourself? And Elijah Bond, one of the first inventors of the game, was using it with his family when they asked for its name, and the board apparently spelled out Ouija. While many people have interpreted the name to be a combination of both French and German words for yes, the family asked the board what its name meant, and it told them good luck. Well, I don't know.
I haven't had any bad luck with it.
No? You're one of the few unfortunate. That, and then we've got some stories. Actually, how about safety tips? Shall we go about the handling? Sure. So basically, Ouija board safety tips. Using a Ouija board can be fascinating and potentially eerie experience, like I had. However, opinions on its safety and efficiency vary widely among, I got this from Reddit, no stranger from Redditors. Here are some key insights and safety tips if you decide to use a Ouija board. So safety tips for using a Ouija board: you have to understand that the odometer effect, many believe that the Ouija board's movements are due to the odometer ideomotor, ID motor? Okay. Ideomotor, thank you.
Thank you.
Effect. While unconscious muscle movements of the participants cause the planchette to move. Idiometer?
Idiometer.
Okay. Effect.
Idiomotor.
If you really want to know how these things work, take it seriously, treat the Ouija board with respect, and avoid using it as a joke. So don't consider it as a game because you don't want to piss off the spirits, you know what I'm saying? Set clear intentions, be specific about who and what you want to contact. Be as specific as possible. Don't leave open-ended questions that can be interpreted. Use protection. Light white candles, use protective crystals, and cleanse the area before and after using the Ouija board. A white light candle for protection while playing it. I don't know. Do you think that's good enough? Crystals?
I don't know. I mean,
You guys
we
usually
use
have that around
protection,
anyway,
But
yeah.
we use protection on ourselves, not necessarily on the board or for
True.
the board. So, I mean, protection is important. It's just how you want to use it.
True. And always play it at your friend's house. Just kidding. Always say goodbye. Ensure you're properly close off the session by moving the planchette to the goodbye section, and always close the game out when you're done. Avoid using it alone. It's generally safer to use the Ouija board with a group. Have one person in charge who's the leader. Right? That makes sense because you don't want to give a whole bunch of confusing instructions, right? It also says cleansing rituals. After using the board, perform a cleansing ritual to ensure that no unwanted spirits remain. Okay.
So
Yeah.
for Winnipeg Paranormal, we basically have a couple similar rules. The first one is always protection. So like I was saying, we protect ourselves rather than protecting the board. We never use it alone. We always use positive intentions. So when we are asking for a spirit to join us, we will actually recite the lines of like, only positive energy is allowed to communicate with us, only positive spirits are allowed to come through. That's setting our intention and then closing it off and saying goodbye. We also do cleansing, but again, we do it on our own, on us, rather than the board. Again, just personal preference, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, being with these ladies often enough on their public investigations, you do the white light protection, right? Yeah, and that's really important. And I mean, like, even with the Ouija board, I think it's safe to say when you go into a house or a location that you know it's haunted, and you're dealing with, like, they consider a Ouija board a portal, right? So you don't know who or what you're going to get. And I think with anything, just like, who watches those ghost shows, like Zach Bagans and all that crap, right? And I never, before I know these ladies and went on investigations and stuff, I just, it was so cringy because, spirits are like people, but they've passed. So, I mean, you wouldn't like yell at people in their face and go, show yourselves, and, all this, like they're poking the dragon or the ghost, right? So I mean, it's kind of like when you're using a Ouija board, when you're investigating, you want to come in kind of like nice and soft, and you don't want to be threatening or demanding or
Use respect.
use respect. Yeah, for sure. Should we ask anybody stories, or you want to go
Well, how
right to
about,
stories?
does anybody have any questions?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yes, right in front.
What company and what year did they capitalize the?
Milton Bradley capitalized it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
As for a year, I'm not sure. I'd have to look into that.
Let
But I think it was,
me tell you. I think I have
Oh,
it
you
right
have
here.
it?
Yeah, origins. I didn't want to put you all to sleep. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to give every little detail. I'm always very thorough with the information, so I got a lot of details here. 1891, I think. 1920s. Yeah, so it switched hands by the looks of things before Milton Bradley actually got their mitts on it. It was Parker Brothers actually, and they got that in 1966. But before then, Fuld was the last name of the businessman who claimed to have made $3 million in profits by 1920. So it started in 1891. Yeah, there you go.
yes.
The tool like that, or some people seem to put more negative voice. It's very careful, like even estimated and like winner or whatever. Like, no, that's.
Actually, Wiccan use it quite regularly. Yeah, but that comes from Hollywood and the movies and people not doing their research. So a lot of people just go with the general, oh, it's evil because Hollywood made this movie about a ghost that came through or a demon that came through, and now, that's kind of stuck. That was one thing that I wanted to learn about was Ouija boards when I first started this. I didn't play with them a lot as a kid, but I wanted to know why people saw them as evil. And then when I was starting to ask groups who actually investigate, not the ones that you see on TV, because they're not investigating, right? They're doing a show for you. But the groups that actually investigate, they're the ones who you go to talk to and ask questions and do your research. So that's why I find it really interesting that it was a dating game, right, for so long. And, up until, when did Exorcist, 80s?
Yeah, 70, 74,
70s?
75, something like that. Yeah.
Up until then, it didn't have that negative side to it.
Right.
So it has been used by Wiccan and a whole bunch of other different religions and different groups of people for hundreds of years.
And funny story, you don't even really need like a board. I mean, I've seen people cut out like words, yes, no, and use like a glass upside down. Has anybody ever seen that? Where they just kind of, yeah. So, and that works as well. In fact, just to quickly tell you a real quick story, years ago when me and Cher first started the podcast, we actually got invited out. It was weird. We got invited out to IKEA. They did like, it was like, I guess like sleepover. It was a sleepover contest, IKEA's sleepover contest. 200 customers got selected, like their, if you have a membership with them, and they, and I guess by the end of the night, 6 people would actually get picked. And those people would actually get to pick out their beds and their bedding, and they get to win this. This is 7 years ago. And part of it, they had like games, they had popcorn, they had like a photo booth kind of thing, and they wanted somebody to come out and tell ghost stories. So we were only doing the podcast like I think 6 weeks, and they found us on the internet. I don't know what happened since then, but me and Cher went out, and we had like a lineup of people coming to tell us and share, and we had ghost stories, and we're telling ghost stories. And one lovely lady came with her husband, and just looked like the sweetest lady, like not creepy or anything, and she had little kids with her, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to tell. That's the one thing, we do drink and swear, but we try to keep it cool in public. Not here though, you guys, I'll just unleash. But she had 2 little kids with her. It's like, oh, so we can't tell them ghost stories, but she says, I have a story. She goes, I have a Ouija board story. And I'm like, okay, do tell. It's like, can your kids be here? She goes, yeah, they've heard it before. And just the nicest family, all matching pajamas, right? So I mean, nondescript. And she starts telling the story about how they made their own Ouija board. They wrote out, yes, no, maybe on a table, a glass like this, a really, really narrow glass with a bottom. It was her brother and a cousin, I think, or something like that. And it was the 3 of them. And they're playing on this table with these cut out words and back and forth. And they communicated. I can't really tell you offhand, remember the details as to what they asked and what they said, but they were getting activity, right? And then when they stopped doing it, whatever, she takes the glass and she takes a look, and there was a fingerprint on the inside of the glass. Like it was like a tall, narrow glass, like you could not. And the fingerprint was on the inside. And she says to her that made just so much sense, because that's why the glass was moving so easily, because something was moving it and it wasn't them. Ooh. Anyway. Ooh. You don't need a board. Like you can, just make one up out of paper.
Grab a piece of cardboard.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, and use the glass as a planchette. So. And I don't know. Any other questions? Any other comments? Any stories? Yes.
Can you still buy the Ouija board?
You can.
You can.
Yes.
Yeah.
I used to have one.
Did you?
I was 12.
Yes.
And I used to play with it with a friend of mine, and I told my teacher, who was a nun,
Oh no.
"That's the devil. You bring it here.
Yeah.
I'm going to get rid of it." Okay, so I took it and got rid of it. I went out and bought another one.
Did you really? Good for you.
I went, what happened? Oh, yeah, I freaked her out.
Oh, that's funny.
Love that. That's so cool.
Well, I had never heard of a Ouija board until it was like our grade 6, it was like our grade 6 end of year little party, and there were these kids in this quiet room, and I'm like, what's so-and-so and so-and-so? It was like 4 or 5 of them in there. They're like, oh, they're playing with the Ouija board. I'm like, Ouija board? What's that? Pray tell, do tell, you know? And somebody told me, I'm like, oh my God, I never heard what, you know, of course, these kids wouldn't give everybody a turn, so you get kind of pissed off and curious, especially when you're like a creepy, spooky kid. And that's what I did. I went and took my money, and I went downtown to this game store that was right on Portage, and I begged my grandfather, I had to have it. And they didn't know what it was, but I do remember trying to bring it over to my best friend's house, and her mom, Mrs. Thompson, you know, says, what's that? And I go, it's a Ouija board. She's like, you're not bringing that in my house. Take that out now. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, what's everybody getting their shit in a, you know, underwear and a snag here, you know? And yeah, kids don't know, right? But it sure was fun until it wasn't fun. Anyway.
When so I've been doing this for like 12, 13 years, something like that. And when I first started, you know, asked my parents if they had ever had any paranormal experiences, things like that. And both parents were like, oh, no, like, you know, believe in it, but never had it happen. Okay. A few years later, my mom's sister passed away, and so we were at the funeral, and my cousin comes up to me and he's like, so I hear that you're into the paranormal now. Yeah, why? Well, did your mom ever tell you the story about us using the Ouija board? I'm like, no. So he goes on to tell me that him and my mom had drawn out a Ouija board and were using a glass as a planchette, and they were goofing around and, you know, not thinking anything of it, and all of a sudden the glass shot off the table and across the room. And they didn't play it again.
Nope.
But
That's
I
a
went
hard
to my
no
mom
for
and I'm
me.
like, why didn't you tell me this? Oh, I forgot. I'm like,
How do you forget
how
that?
do you forget that?
Crazy. Well, so in continuation, when I had the Ouija board, I'd play with friends, and friends would come over, and, you know, just like summertime, you know, like we didn't have video games, we didn't have iPads. You played outside, you know, or you played inside if you're a creepy kid with a Ouija board. And I remember the one girl, a friend of mine, Shelly, had come over, and she was like popular girl. It's like, oh, the popular girl's hanging out with me, right? So me and her, we were playing with the Ouija board in my bedroom, you know, but we didn't do all the proper things that we said, you know. And it was a little boy. His name was Joseph. He was like 8 or 9 or something like that. This is what we were picking up, and he was telling, and I remember this because I'm gonna just wait till I tell you what ended up happening. So then that's why I remember it. He told us he died, and we're asking him all these questions. Well, how did you die, and where did you die? And like we were just kind of firing off the questions kind of rudely because we were like invested at this point. Like, holy shit! Like, is this for real? And you know, there was just 2 of us. And, you know, I was like, are you moving it? No, are you moving it? You know, I was like, ooh, whatever, right? And then, and I think we got a little bit under the spirit's skin. And then I shit you not, all of a sudden, we had like a feel of like electrocution go up our hands to the point where we jumped back. And it was just like, oh my God, what was that? Like literally, it was like a low grade electrocution, both of us. And I mean, I can never explain it to this day. 12 years old, we don't know any different, we don't know any better, and we were asking some pretty intense questions because we're little assholes, right? Like, I mean, you know, you don't know when to stop, you don't know what's considered improper, rude, or whatever. And yeah, I noped out of that, and I sold that. And actually, I gave the board away to a friend that I hung out with because I'm like, I don't want it, you can have it. So, and that's why I don't touch it.
And that's fine. I mean, we don't force anybody to use
No.
Ouija boards. Or
But I'm
anything,
curious
so we
though,
have
like
that.
because I trust these ladies, so I'm curious.
Well, when you're ready,
I'm bored curious.
I've got 2 boards up here.
We may do that, yes.
So.
All right. So And then, other people I know have played with Ouija boards. And then, I think when I was 17, the house I used to hang out regularly, both parents had died. So it was just the kids that were living in the house, 17 and 21. And the 17 or 18-year-old friend of mine, she was in the house having some girlfriends over, and I walk in the house, hey, what's Friday night? Hey, what's going on? What do we do tonight? We're playing with the Ouija board. I'm like, okay, thanks. We'll see you. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And I walked out. When I came by the next day or talked to her, again, because I don't think they properly closed off or did what you need to do to protect yourself and protect the board, she said she was sleeping and her kitchen cupboards were opening and shutting all night long. And they never did that before. Yeah.
Interesting.
I know one of my favorite times using the Ouija board. It's not a negative story. It's actually a really, really nice story.
Oh, I love nice stories.
So we were on an investigation, myself and Kelly, and we were at a home of a mother and daughter, and the stepfather had just recently passed away. So we were trying to help the mother communicate, and so we brought the Ouija board, and we were able to witness basically this husband telling his wife that he loved her and that he was okay and he was going to watch over them until they moved out of the house, and then he was going to cross over. And the way that we knew that it was him is that it was only Kelly and I on the Ouija board, and we were getting words that the wife was able to relate to. Some stories or signs that the wife was able to relate to, even though she was not touching the board.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we have some stories to share with you folks today, and there are some good stories. There's some crap your pants stories, but there's also some really nice stories here. Like this one here, a lady describes how she said her mom and her aunt used a board after their dad died. The mom and the aunt's dad. He had remarried, but had told his daughters that he was leaving them a few things in his will, including some money. His second wife was the executor and was saying he hadn't left them any money, etc., etc., etc. But apparently, anyway, the mom and the sister thought it was possible that the money wasn't left to them after all, like the second wife said. But then the aunt was really strapped for cash, and they felt like it was also possible that the second wife was withholding info and money. So they apparently managed to get their dad via Ouija board, just no, and asked him whether he had left their money in the will for them. He spelled out a 3-letter acronym for a bank and then a series of numbers, and it turns out he did have a bank account with money in it intended for his daughters. So the account matched the bank acronym and the account number. So that's cool. I mean, that's a happy thing, right?
That's really cool.
Yeah. That's like where I say, where's the gold buried?
It wouldn't work. Coming from a financial background, that wouldn't work. The Ouija board told me that my dad had an account here. I don't know what you're talking about.
Can you imagine? You bring a bag, just small bills, please. So, and then here's another happy story, because I'm going to ease you in, like we're going to go really nice on this, right? So the second story, a man named Oscar said, I'm from a farming family. We used to sell grain through the Canadian Wheat Board, and you would get paid at the end of the year. You'd get a final payment. You never knew how much per bushel that you would get as a final payment. And then he said, my brother asked the Ouija board, and it told us, he can't remember like what the dollar amount was, but he goes, anyway, he went to the coffee shop and told his buddies how much. Can you imagine a farmer going into a coffee shop saying, I played a Ouija board and we're going to bring it in. No, anyway, not making fun of farmers, but they're very practical people, and they don't believe in ghosts, so I mean, most of them don't. Any farmers here? I hope I didn't offend anybody. So anyway, so he went to the coffee shop, and then he told his buddies how much it was going to be, and then a few months later, it was announced, and it was the exact same amount. So the coffee group was amazed at the two brothers. So that's pretty cool.
I don't recommend asking the Ouija board what the lottery numbers are going to be. Just if
I knew
you
you were
do
going to
that,
say that.
It's on you.
Let's see this one. I'll give it a shot. I've asked ChatGPT for the lottery numbers. I mean, geez, I'm not shy. Okay, so this one, I don't know if I pre-vetted this one. This is one of the ones where it's like tarot cards. Tarot cards. They say you never should read your own tarot cards or play alone. And the Ouija board, they say you're not supposed to play it alone as well. So this says, remember they tell you never to do it alone? Well, I did, because it was the only way that I could be sure that nobody was moving the coin. I did a paper and a coin instead of the proper board and planchette. I talked to someone, a male, who died. I asked why they were still around, and it answered car. He gave me a phone number, a name of a wife, and a local phone number. I started thinking this is so mundane, like seriously. And it got kind of forceful, and I felt the coin actually pull a little and then get warm. And it said, before this, I wasn't even sure if it was me or moving it. I asked where he was, and he spelt infer, like as in infer no, but the answer went to no, like he was in hell. I would close that sucker off so fast. Sorry, wrong number. And then that detail of using the no to cut corners in the spelling was interesting. So I started saying goodbye, and it didn't answer, and I simply stopped moving it. It didn't answer anything else I asked, so hopefully it left. Well, that's a big chance, isn't it? But I didn't like not having the assurance, so I kept the thing for years in a random book. I didn't know if burning or throwing it away was a good idea, because again, they used the paper and the coin, right? They didn't use the board. Of course, I called the number, and like the phone number, and I asked for the wife, and I was told she wasn't there. So yeah, that right. And says, but does she live there? And of course, we were notoriously paranoid as a country about giving info on the phone. So I got the typical treatment. Who's this? Why are you calling? And then they hung up because, So they don't know if any of it checked out. They never did it again and never had anything weird happen after that. So I guess they closed off. But that's kind of creepy cool, I think, sort of. Yeah. Oh, and you know how you said you bought the board, and if you can still buy boards? Curiously enough, Marketplace in Winnipeg, every now and then, I find people selling their Ouija board online on Marketplace. Like, I'm not sure if I want to buy that, though.
Well, as long as you cleanse it,
Right. Sure.
you should be fine.
Sure.
Should be.
Should. No guarantee. Okay. So,
if you think about it, there's no guarantee that even if you buy a new board that it's clean.
that's true. That's true.
So always cleanse a Ouija board when you first get it.
Because it's the Ouija boards are manufactured in Satan's factory.
Okay, so
Yeah.
how do you cleanse a Ouija board?
There's a couple different ways. I've heard of putting it in a black garbage bag with salt for at least 7 days. You can also, the way I've been taught, for cleansing even our tools is with sage or Palo Santo, or making sure that you're infusing the light and positive energy on it.
Yeah. Right. I'll tell a couple more stories here that we found. So this one here, it says, my mom and her 3 friends were playing one, and it spelled out 4 till no more. They didn't think anything of it, and then over the course of the next month, one of the friend's brothers overdosed, the second friend's dad passed away suddenly, and then my mom and the 4th friend were in a deadly car accident where the driver was their close friend, and they did not survive. Afterwards, she had severe night terrors, mostly of a dark, evil figure, and then it says, and my great-grandma had to do a cleansing on her to get them to subside. My mom still has scars on her hands from the accident and night terrors every once in a while to this day. It took literal years to get her to finally tell my sister and I the story. We were told never play with them, nor have we ever wanted to. So I guess that was a bad story, right? So I told you, we kind of went along. It was all nice and fun, and yeah. Do you want to read any of these?
No, go ahead. You're doing good.
Okay, fine. My brother is 7 years older than me, and the story goes like this. My parents rented a house that my mom's aunt and uncle had owned in the 70s. The aunt committed suicide in the early 60s in the back bedroom of the top floor. And shortly after my brother was born, they decided to use a Ouija board to try and contact her aunt. After a few questions and inquiries, they asked a question that prompted the Ouija board to respond with Move J, Movejay. My brother's name is Jason, and he goes by Jay. They moved his crib to the other room, and a short few days later, a massive storm caused a tree branch to crash through my brother's bedroom window, and it landed where his crib would have been. Now, I believe in stuff like that. There's no such thing as coincidences. I totally believe, that probably could have happened.
I agree. There's no such thing as coincidences.
No.
Everything happens for a reason.
I don't know, just kind of going off the track here with respects to Ouija board stories and Ouija. I've done this and I've said it before. If you drive the same way every day, and that's not the only way to get there, and then all of a sudden you just feel the urge not to go that way, and then you find out later there was either a really bad accident and it's just oh, okay. That happens to me quite a bit. So, you got to go with your gut instincts, with everything.
Well, and there's always the stories of you're leaving and you realize you forgot your wallet inside or your phone or whatever, and you have to go back in. People say wait a few minutes before you actually go back out to leave. Mm-hmm. There's a reason that you forgot something. Mm-hmm.
Or it could be a relative or spirit kind of delaying you just to make sure that you got that extra time.
Yep.
I believe. Next story. My sister and I once decided to make out of paper, like a Ouija board, and try it in our apartment hallway. We never thought in a million years that this would actually yield any results, but as soon as we wrote hello and asked a question, all the lights in the hallway of the apartment building flickered. We got so scared that we ran inside our apartment and burned the piece of paper in the shower tub.
That reminds me of the Facebook video or reel or whatever. There's a dad and he's standing in front of the electrical panel and it says, girls are having a sleepover upstairs, and he flicks the light.
And they're playing with the Ouija board. Yeah, they're playing with the Ouija board upstairs. Let's make them scream. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we've only got a couple more minutes before
we'll take a break and then we'll get back at it. Next one here, I love this. Evil Dead is one of my favorite movies, so cabin in the woods. We were in a cabin in the woods, several hundred yards away, an old cemetery laid almost out of sight. Had it not been for the little outdoor excursion I had taken the morning before, I wouldn't have known it was there. The only two people who knew it was there was my cousin and me. And then later in the day, we pulled out an old Ouija board from the closet. We messed around for a while, and then one of our friends decided to ask its name. And we started with an A, and then we asked how it died or how they died. I can't remember that part, but then we asked, and then something along the lines of in the year 1800 something. And they said that I died in a fire and my body is located in the cemetery down the road. I'm sure it was took longer than that. Right? And then they say, my cousin and I froze and we gave each other a long stare and we told our friends about the cemetery and we went to explore, and sure enough, there was a grave with his name and information on it.
Very cool.
Pretty cool. This is the last one. This is the last one. It's a short one. So, a person says, when I was 12 years old with a friend about the same age over at my house. The house was built in 1962. This was actually in Central Phoenix area in Arizona. Got my mom's Ouija board out of the game box, and mind you, it's summer in Phoenix with no wind or bad weather. It says we were already spooked, and we were literally sitting right in the middle of the living room with the front door wide open and sunlight shining in. We seemed to be getting a response to our general questions, and we kept on, and is there someone here with us? Did you die here, etc.? They didn't recall the exact questions, but they think they got a name at one point. And then there was some disturbing replies and activity starting in the house, and feeling that the planchette moved noticeably, and then boom, an absolute rush of ice-cold air blasted in and slammed the front door shut. We literally still get chills talking about this, and both of us ran to the friend's house 5 blocks away. I stayed there for a few hours until I knew I had to go back alone. and then walk back into that house and put it all away, like the Ouija board and stuff, before my mom came home from work. It's way up there on the most frightening experiences I've had in my life, even though it's a super basic tale. Either way, I don't and won't mess with a Ouija board again. Dun dun dun. All right. Do we want to break now?
Yeah.
So we'll take about a 10-minute break, give you a chance to refresh your drinks, and please, we have a draw that we're doing here. Sign up your name. We want to hear your ghost stories. It's your time to shine, and non-judgmental. We're basically like-minded here, and it gives you a place to cathartically tell your stories to us, if you're so willing to do. Maybe, depending if there's anybody coming out for storage or not, maybe we'll do the Ouija board and see who wants it. Anybody want to try the Ouija board in another part of the bar? Just one. You'll be playing by yourself. Just kidding. No, you're not.
Why not?
Please. I told him what the topic was, and he's like, "The fuck, I'm going there tomorrow night." Anyway, so we got the Ouija board, and of course we got Joanne with her tarot cards on the side. So give us about 10 minutes, we'll regroup, and we'll see what everybody wants to do. Thanks.
Yep. Grab a drink. Just a reminder, like Jazz said, Joanne's on the side.
Oh, and Ashley's got a table too.
I've got a table of some merchandise if you want to come take a peek as well.
Yeah. Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you in a few.